Wagwan, beautiful people.
What's up, guys?
Welcome once again to another episode of Cooking with Nino. Today I'm going to be making for you a classic. You know I always make classics. It's called mac and cheese. Mac and cheese. And let me tell you, I'm making this baby from scratch. And I've got some ingredients rocking here. I've got some shredded cheese, of course. I've got a mixture of 3 cheese plus some sharp cheddar that's going to give it a nice little punch. I've got some flour here, some unsalted butter. I've got a medium-sized onion chopped. I've got a couple of 3 bay leaves and about 8 cloves. I've got some white pepper and I've got some salt. Not to mention, I've also got a nutmeg. And last but certainly not least, I've got some Dijon mustard. All right, guys, so starting us off right now, we've got our macaroni cheese. I've got my elbow macaroni all cooked. I kind of took the liberty of cooking it before and ensure that you have sufficient water in the pan. You add a little salt to the water and you add, that's roughly about 4 cups of elbow macaroni, okay? I just took the liberty of doing it ahead of time just to kind of speed things up a bit. So right now I've got my pan on the stove here. Oh, let me just kind of pull that off. I've got my milk. I'm just kind of warming my milk there. But I've got my pan on my stove. I'm going to add to that my butter. And I'm going to melt the butter. We're going to be making a roux. Okay, from melting the butter, I'm going to be adding the flour to that. And we're going to create what's called a roux. And that is going to be a thickening agent that we're going to use to create. And it's going to be the base for our cheese sauce, which is, of course, before we get to this cheese sauce stage, we're going to get to what's called a bechamel. So we're going to make a roux, we're going to convert it to a bechamel, then we're going to convert it even further to what's called a Mornay sauce. Or cheese sauce.
Oh and boy, that sounds complex.
Oh, it's not as complex as you think. I'm going to walk you through this step by step, and we're going to see how this goes. It's going to be absolutely lovely.
Okay, so step 1.
Step 1 is we've got to melt our butter. Okay, and we want to keep our stove. The thing about this, guys, because it's a white sauce, we want to ensure that nothing goes brown. So even if we have to lower the temperature on the burner, just to ensure that we get the cheese melted, or the butter melted. Okay, and as you can see just over here, I've got my milk. Okay, the milk it's supposed to be warm, so I've kind of warmed my milk ahead of time because it's going to help eliminate any sort of lumps that we get in there. We're just going to melt that away.
And how much butter was that?
That's roughly about a half a cup of butter. We're going to melt that away. We've got a medium-sized chopped onions. I'm just going to add my chopped onions to that. I've also got some chopped garlic in here. I've add the onions and the garlic together, chopped. And I'm just going to sweat those just to ensure I extract all the flavor from those onions. So once I've got my butter all melted and the chopped onions and garlic in there, I'm just going to add some flour to that. Okay, slowly add our flour. Just incorporate our flour, and this is roughly a half a cup of flour that I'm adding to this. And we're just going to cook the flour. We got to ensure that the flour is cooked out, because otherwise your sauce is going to have that really floury taste. Okay, so just add it slowly. Get the rest of it in there. And just continue to keep it stirring so we get everything all cooked out nicely, get everything incorporated. And you got to remember, guys, that once you make this sauce, it's something that you can store in your freezer. If you don't have to use it all at once, you can make it all and then store it for the next time around that you want to make some macaroni and cheese, given that your families just love the Nino and low macaroni and cheese. So we just get the flour cooked out. Once we get it all incorporated, we're going to add our milk to that, which is going to be our warm milk. I'm just going to change a bit here, guys, and I'm going to use a whisk to kind of finish this off once I add my milk. Let's get in there. So now we've got the roux. We're going to add to that.
So this is called a roux.
This is called a roux. We're going to add to that the milk. And in adding the milk, it's going to turn it into a bechamel sauce. Okay, so the roux is just the base. Get the roux all cooked. That's just the base. We're going to slowly add our milk to that. And we just want to add it slowly and just get it all incorporated. And you can see the thick consistency that's being created there. So one of the reasons for using warm milk as opposed to cold milk is that would take time for the stove to heat up that milk to the temperature where it would incorporate itself. Given that the milk is warm, the process is a lot quicker. And I'm just consistently whisking it just to keep a nice consistency going, because we don't want any kind of lumps in here. And that, again, one of the reasons why, look at that, we have and all the milk into that. We're just whisking away, and guys, we just want to try and get a smooth consistency. It's very important to have a smooth consistency when you're making the sauce. And as I mentioned earlier, we're now converting a roux into a bechamel. We're going to add some more ingredients to this, but this is something that you can also use for various other sauces. Like, you can use this for fish. You can also use this for cheese and broccoli or cheese and cauliflower. When you add cauliflower sauce to it, once we get this bechamel going, it's the base for several sauces. Okay, we're going to turn it today though into a cheese sauce or a Mornay sauce, which is going to be the base for macaroni and cheese. All right, so we're at a pretty good consistency here, guys. So now I'm going to be adding some ingredients to that. Okay, I've got some salt here. I'm going to be adding. Okay, it's about a tablespoon of salt. I've got some white pepper. Now, some people may opt to use black pepper. I prefer to use a white pepper when I'm making a white sauce. What it does is, if you notice here, it'll leave less of the black specks, which is something you get from a black pepper. You get a lot of black specks. And because this is a white sauce and everything is going to show up in there, I think a white pepper is more suited for something like this. If you very often wonder why there's white pepper versus black pepper, there's one reason. All right, we've also got in here, I've got some bay leaves. I've got three bay leaves, which I'm going to drop in there, and I've got a few cloves that I'm also going to just drop in there. We're going to get some flavor from those. We're going to eventually remove the bay leaves and the cloves once we extract all the flavor. I'm also going to add to this maybe a half a teaspoon of Dijon mustard. Got some Dijon mustard here. Just a half a teaspoon of that. Just plop that in there. And that's going to lend itself to a lot of flavor. You can also, if you so desire, may add a little bit of maybe some chicken base. If you have some chicken base, you want to add that to it, absolutely welcome to do that. So once we get that going, we're just going to allow this to sit and simmer for a minute or two. I'm just going to grab a spoon here. I'm just going to show you the consistency that we're looking for. You see that? It's coating. See how it's coating the spoon? Staying on the spoon. Yeah, you don't get a whole lot of dripping. It's sticking on the spoon. A little bit of dripping there. It's a great consistency. That's just about perfect. All right, so now that I've got my bechamel sauce all set here, guys, I'm going to be adding to this the cheese. Okay, I've also removed all the cloves as well as the bay leaves that I had in there. So I'm going to be adding my cheese. Here I've got roughly about 3 cups of cheese, and it's a mixture of a 3 cheese cheddar as well as a sharp cheddar. Now I need that sharp cheddar to give you that little bite. Okay, so I'm just going to put that in there. Just dump all my cheese in there. And just kind of incorporate it and get it all melted. And this right now, guys, as you melt this cheese away, oh, look at this. I've still got a clove right here. I'm just going to pluck that out. As this cheese melts, we're now converting the bechamel into what's called a Mornay sauce or a cheese sauce. So you see, it's a very simple thing. We've gone through and we've done 3 steps. We've made the roux first of all. We converted the roux into a bechamel. And now we're converting the bechamel into a Mornay sauce or a cheese sauce, which is the base for our macaroni and cheese. Okay, and this is gonna give us a nice creamy texture without you having to use 20 pounds of cheese. We just get this the way we get the cheese distributed all throughout and evenly. And we had some of the cheese left over. We didn't use all the cheese. We're gonna be adding some of the cheese on top, and then we're gonna bake our macaroni and cheese in the oven to give it a melt the cheese as well as give it a lovely crust. And I'm just gonna give this a little taste, as you should always taste your food before you complete. A nice taste here. You can just look at the consistency, guys. Look at this. Beautiful consistency. I'm just gonna taste a wee bit of this. Oh my goodness. Now you have a really good cheese sauce made. You guarantee your macaroni and cheese is gonna turn out awesome. That is lovely. So I did forget to grate my nutmeg into my cheese sauce. I'm just gonna put, and again guys, we're just looking at roughly about a quarter teaspoon. It's a nutmeg, it's a fresh nutmeg, but it's gonna give it a very nice flavor. So we'll just add a nutmeg there and give her a stir. Because do remember, we're gonna be putting this in the oven to bake and melt the cheese. And right now I've got my oven set at 375 degrees. So get that all stirred. So I've got my my elbow macaroni. I pre-cooked it earlier. Okay, I'm just gonna get a bowl. I'm just gonna dump this right into the bowl, guys. Right into the bowl. Got a rubber spatula here. It's gonna help me to get this out. So I've got my sauce all set. And let me just put this over here, and I'm just gonna add, it's gonna be kind of awkward here, but let's add my sauce to that. Just incorporated my Mornay sauce or my cheese sauce to my mac and cheese. And do remember guys, if you have a little leftover and you want to save it for another day, you can always make the sauce ahead of time or save some for your broccoli, your cheese and broccoli, or your cauliflower and cheese with cheese sauce. Okay, there's a lot of things we can do with this. So let's get that in. We're just gonna get in there and give it a little stir to incorporate everything. As you can see the cheesiness that we've got there. Very cheesy looking macaroni and cheese. All right, I'm just gonna get that all incorporated. Look at that. Look at that cheesiness. All right, and from here, we're just gonna dump her into the pan, and then we're gonna bake it. Just gonna pour it out into our baking dish. In this case, our baking pan. Oops. We wanna get all the goodies in. Let's get it all in there. Gonna sprinkle it along, and this is gonna melt, and it's gonna give it a beautiful crust. Look at that. We're gonna just put it in the oven now for about 30 minutes and let it bake. So I've got my oven preset at 375 degrees. I've got my ingredients all set. Drop this in a baking sheet, and we're gonna put it in the oven. So guys, only after about 15, well, to be exact, about 17 minutes, we've got our mac and cheese all set here. As you can see, the lovely golden crust on the top, and it's baked and it's nice. It's all ready to go. I'm just gonna allow it to cool for a minute because I don't want to cut. If I cut it now, we're gonna get a lot of oozing, a lot of cheese all over the place. So I'm gonna let it cool for about 5 or 10 minutes. Absolutely delightful. Right here, we've got our finished product, guys, all set with our macaroni and cheese. I've got some barbecue chicken, some broccoli, as well as some corn on the cob there as accompaniment. Let me tell you, this just looks amazing. And I'm going to tell you right now that judging by the taste of the sauce, I just know how this is going to taste. That is yummy. That is so nice and cheesy, and it's just absolutely lovely. So if you like this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we look forward to seeing you on the next episode.